This is Trung, and welcome back to AI Revenue Loop, where we interview founders and marketing leaders and sales leaders on their journey and how they think and adopt AI. So here we have Ishan. Ishan is the founder of Sphere Growth. And Ishan, do you want to just share with the listener a little bit about yourself?
Since the last almost 4 years now, I've been running my agency. It's Spear Growth. We do two things. We do ads and SEO for B2B SaaS companies in particular. Now, since we're an agency and we get to speak with a lot of different marketing managers, we get to see their journey, we get to see what's their marketing stack look like, what's working, what's not working at any point of time. So that's also put me in this unique position where I actually have a good sense of what works in different companies just because of the conversations I've had. Apart from that, I have my own podcast, which in that as well, like every week we're talking with someone and understanding what's working for them. So I like learning, and that's what I've been doing for 4 years, either through the company or through the podcast or my content or just conversations. Yeah, that's a little bit about me.
That's amazing. So the desire to learn, I read from your post a long time ago that this is why you chose this plan to go on entrepreneurial journey, right? So your journey into marketing is a little bit unconventional. I read that you left a great role at the US in 2020 with no plan at all. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Oh yeah, I went through this phase, right? So I'm a computer science engineer, right? And so I used to code. I won a couple of hackathons. Was a full stack, like I was a dev, full stack dev, built things. Then I remember a freelance projects, and I realized I don't like coding. I especially don't like like debugging. Just couldn't bear it. So completely pivot. Like, so now I was at a place where, hey, I didn't know what to do. So I started doing every random thing. And yeah, if we get time, we'll talk about some of the random things, but I did a lot of random things. And the conclusion was, hey, I like this business and marketing side of things, because every project I picked up, I had to market it. I enjoyed that. So I think I only sat for two companies in my placement, or I decided to sit for two companies, but I got lucky and got selected by the first one. The backup plan was struggling and trying to figure out my own startup for, as a kid, essentially. Got into High Radius, which is a fintech unicorn. It's in the accounts receivable space. Got lucky a couple of times there, and when I joined, I fully had intentions of leaving. I literally
Oh,
wanted
really? Wow.
to, yeah, I joined knowing that, hey, when I'm there, I just want to know what larger companies do, how they work, and then I'm going to use that information somehow and build my own startup. Those were my intentions. Joined in, and I realized, oh, I don't know a lot. I thought I knew a lot more than I knew. Realized that there, I had an amazing, like, that company. At least by the time I was there, it just been amazing. Like, the team was amazing. The mentors I got were amazing. It was great. Got lucky a couple of times. I got to quickly lead the SEO team completely. So I had the entire channel under me. So did that for another 2 years or so. And then I sort of, I couldn't see myself, like, the pace of learning really slowed down. And while
Hmm.
the pay was great, the position was great, I had access to the CMO, and like, as a starting of my career, right? That was a great place to be, but my pace of learning has slowed down. And one thing I've always maintained is that, hey, if what you're doing now, if I knew that if I continue doing what I wanted or what I was doing at that point of time, I would definitely not hit my growth targets. Like, I had I wanted to maintain a certain pace, and I knew if I continued the role I want, and if I left it and I did anything else, there's a small chance I might be able to learn faster. So I would rather, it wasn't a big risk. It was like, hey, there's a 0% chance of learning fast enough versus there's a small percent chance. So I just left it. Yeah, that was the story about me just leaving the job, left it, and just started doing freelancing for a while I thought, what should I even do with my life at that point? But yeah, I continued learning. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's amazing because I'm not sure if I don't know exactly who said this, but some very famous person say that 20 in your 20 you want to optimize for learning, and then in your 30 and 40 that's when you want to optimize for earning. If you optimize for earning too soon, your growth stall out. I think you basically following that advice to the T.
Oh yeah, to the
Yeah.
T. Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. I'm 28 now. I have 2 more years to go.
Two more years of learning. No, I think it's a continuous learning, continuous journey. When you start out, when you left the unicorn, you actually said that you didn't want to start business because you want freedom, right? But here you are, 4 years later, you start your own business. You have employee that report to you. Can you share more with us, like what make the change of heart?
Oh yeah. So every year I have this. I don't have it on my wall because I just moved houses. But then otherwise, wherever I work, next to my wall, I have the vision for the year. Every year I set like one word. My word for the year when I started my company was freedom. Okay.
Okay.
And
And that changed. The
I
word change every year.
Yeah, the word changes every single year. So
Oh,
I
okay.
have this one focus for every year. That year's word was freedom. And I was like, this was just Feb, right? So I'm just into the year, month two. I'm like, yeah, I'll optimize for freedom. I was freelancing back then. I have never made as much money, even till date. I haven't made the amount of money as to make as a freelancer. Um,
Okay.
so I would work. There wasn't like, I didn't have to put a lot of time in. I would make enough money to sustain myself for a year, every month, while hardly working every week. But then
Well,
I could take all the time that I had remaining. I went into these communities and I could learn from, like, I found this was this community called Peak. And Peak community was a community of CMOs and VPs of marketing. And the day I left my job, and this might sound like I'm making it up, but let's say I had put in my resignation, I served my notice period. It was a couple of months because I was involved in a lot of different things. So it was hard to just replace me immediately. So I served, I think, about 3 months after resigning. Imagine if tomorrow was the last day, and I still am, but I really was a night owl back then. So I had nothing to do the night before. I usually used to work at night, but that night I had nothing to do. The next day was going to be my last day at the company, and I get this email from Sangram Vajre. You might have seen him. He's like the founder of a couple of different companies in both SaaS and also now he's running a services GTM consultancy. So I
hmm.
got an email from him. It was an en masse email. I have no idea how I got that. And it was an invitation to a webinar. The webinar was being taken by this person, James Gilbert, and his profile, he had written 3 times CMO. And I really wanted to, like, I wanted to be a CMO, right? So I'm like, great. Both these folks seem very, very, I look up to both of them. So I should probably go. And I was arrogant at this point of time, right? Like
You're arrogant. Oh,
yeah, I
okay.
was arrogant. And I hadn't watched a video which where I could learn something. Like it was like, hey, I already know all of this in marketing, and I cannot find more videos where I could learn. So I go to this call. I was in India. This call was in the US, so it was like 1 a.m. my time. I go on this call, and this was a Zoom call, and every other person on the call was either a VP or a CMO, and
Oh,
somehow
wow.
I got the invite,
Okay.
right? And James Gilbert comes up. It's a 30-minute call, and he just like opens a couple of slides, and he's like, "Hey, you all know these companies," and there were like 30 logos on that. I started looking through them one by one, and he just presses next, and then he just shows this very complex user journey. He's like, "Okay, now this is a typical user journey," and he points to two. I'm still trying to analyze the journey. I remember this very clearly because it just shattered me. I just kept, I couldn't even figure out the journey, and he had talked through 3 points through it, and he pressed next again, and that was the entire presentation. I
Oh,
couldn't
wow.
keep
Okay.
up, right? And so that was the moment where, because I was overconfident. Like I was way too confident, and on that meeting, it was like if there was one guy, it was a Zoom meeting, so I could see the other participants who had the cameras on, and they were all nodding. Like they understood. And I was so in my head, I'm the only guy on this call who couldn't even keep up. Like
Maybe the
that.
other guy couldn't keep up either. Who knows?
Most probably they could, but I was just shattered. And next, I remember I went to office and they were cutting the cake, congratulating me for being brave and leaving, and I genuinely
So,
had just like my confidence had dropped overnight. And the
oh
next day, we
wow.
were cutting the cake.
Like the night before leaving. Wow. Just
Yeah,
talk
it
about
was
timing.
truly like amazing timing. He had started a community, joined there. I asked every single dumb question you can think. I remember there was this call where there was three CMOs discussing their campaign strategy for the year, and the question I had asked like 15 minutes into the call was, "Hey, what is a campaign?" I remember asking this. They all looked at me like, "Hey, why is a kid on this call?" And they were nice enough to still explain it to me. And I realized that no one really knew what a campaign is. Like everyone defined it in a different way. The question wasn't really dumb, but then it was very nerve-wracking to ask those questions. So there was one CMO showed his entire company's year's marketing plan, and other CMOs were like talking about it. And I remember the one thing, there was nothing I couldn't understand at that point, but I couldn't say with the same conviction that, hey, this is what the company should do, that others had like the best amongst the group. Like obviously there's a lot of folks there that weren't as great, but the best of the best in that group, they could say with a level of conviction and speed that I couldn't, that hey, this is a strategy to take. In this time where I had left my job, I was freelancing, had a lot of free time. I learned how to design. I brushed up on copywriting, all the basics of marketing. I wrapped all of that up. Then I had all this access to CMOs doing strategies. I got access to strategic thinking, and I there was still this gap. I couldn't figure out what the gap was. So this was, I think, about 5 months into me being, or like 4 or 5 months of me being into the community, learning from everyone. And then James Gilbert, the person who did the presentation that completely broke my confidence, he agreed to get on
Yeah.
a call with me. And in that call, he was amazing. He was everything I thought he was. He's still like, he's just amazing. And he said this sentence to me like, hey, a CMO is not a marketer. A CMO is just a business person that happens to specialize in marketing.
Oh wow.
Everything
Okay.
that you are learning is marketing, and you don't know business. You'll never be a CMO. He didn't say it in these words. Like his advice of, but that's what I heard. I heard that, hey, you'll never be a CMO if you don't learn business. So in my head, I had two options: go to college, so I can, hey, go to business school, or start my company. And in my head, for some reason, like starting company was easier. So the week late, the next week, I, I started Spear Growth. Yeah.
Oh wow. Was it easier? Well, you didn't go to business school, so you don't
Yeah, so
you
I
have
don't
yeah.
know. I had sleepless nights in year one because I didn't know how to hire. And that was so stressful. And I had sleepless night for firing. Like if people is always been the toughest part. Then I almost shut down the company almost shut down in month 8 or 9 because the structure I had set up wasn't great. So I doubt it's going to be like emotionally as hard. Like I doubt business school will be emotionally as hard as this, but it's been fun. It's been worth it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Well, I think like starting a business is it's not for the faint of heart. And if you, especially for B2B SaaS, you work with a lot of them, right? If you know the success, the art of success, and if you are a critical thinker, no one would in their right mind start a business. So only the naive who thinks like, how hard can it be? Here we are.
I agree. I
Yeah.
absolutely agree. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I did that a few times, and still no regret. I don't think when every time I join a company, I know like, yeah, I can only be here for 1 or 2 years, and I only want to do my own thing. So, totally on the same boat with you. So let's talk a little bit about Spear Growth. So y'all are focusing on B2B SaaS marketing, right? Things
Yes.
like SEO and PPC. But you
Yeah.
also been weaving AI into your services. In fact, like I heard you even brought on AI developers to build out
Yeah.
AI capability at the agencies. What prompted that investment in AI? how you integrating AI into your client work.
Yeah. I remember using ChatGPT for the first time and just completely being blown. Because before that, I wasn't a believer, right? I was like, hey, there's no way LMs can do this and that. And I remember the first time I used it, and like this, like, because in my head, everything should have been an if and an else statement. If this
Mm-hmm.
happens, do that. If this happens, do that. And that's all technology can get to. I was sure. And when I used ChatGPT and I asked it complex questions, apart from maths, it could do everything. Like this is like early ChatGPT. It could do so many things. It was a little off, but it was not very off. Like this is again version one,
Yeah.
right? Um,
2022, like of November.
I looked at it then. I was like, huh, okay, it won't ever get better. And then I looked at it again in I think 2020, just last year, 2024 was when I looked at it again.
Oh,
And
okay.
it was just mind blowing. Right.
Oh,
So
yeah. Yeah.
that was the time like, hey, this is going to change things. And my hypothesis was like so I'm not an expert in this, but this is going to change things, but I'm not an expert, so I need to, am I just overreacting or is it really going to change things? So I set up calls with a lot of VCs, with a lot of SaaS founders and AI developers, everyone I knew I could find, or like someone's friends I set up. I think about a good, I had about 14 hours of conversations in that 1 week trying to figure out
Mm.
how should I think about this, right? Because I'm not the expert for sure. I wasn't, like, still I'm not, but definitely wasn't back then. So how do I even think about that? So I asked for help. A lot of folks told me things, and I understood a couple of things, right? One of the things I understood was, take SaaS. SaaS only needs a user interface because SaaS, the way it was, could only automate, let's say, 70% of something, right? You
Mm-hmm.
still, and that
Mm-hmm.
remainder of the 30% was distributed across the process. Now, with AI, with LLM specifically, for not everything, but for a lot of things, you'll be able to automate a lot of that remaining 30%. So the example I take is, hey, would I want to hire an accountant or an accounting software, or would I just want one red big button that I press and I forget about accounting forever? Right, I would definitely press the red button. One of the realization was AI might enable red button software, as like as I call them, just like, hey, just like one button and just forget about it. It doesn't exist. You're paying it money, but everything's happening. You don't even have to check. You just know it's happening, and it's not never making a mistake. Like that's going to change quite a few things. And I also
Yeah.
understood that a lot of things that couldn't be automated before in an agency now could be. A lot of the work that people were doing could be automated. And I know that it's going to change what work looks like, what meetings look like. I'm a visionary through and through. I could imagine very clearly what meetings would look like. I could imagine, I can give you a couple of examples of things we are building towards now. But I could imagine how they would be structured, what people would be doing, what days would look like. It was basically like, it's going to be a big deal. So then I made a plan, spoke with a few like really, really senior devs to see if they would hop on board and help me just figure out this AI thing, automate a few things at Spear Growth. Got very lucky. Harsh joined the team. Harsh is basically great track record, great guy, culture fit, amazing human being, and a badass developer. Right. So got him on board to lead the entire all of the efforts. And my role was, hey, I'm going to allocate this entire budget from our profits. So we take our profits, we put it into an account. And so for larger initiatives, I just take money out of the profit. So I allocated an X amount of money for the year that, hey, I'm going to spend this amount of money on this entire AI dev thing over a year. And if by the end of, let's say, 3 months, I see nothing, if I see even a little bit happening, it's a success. If I see nothing, I'm going to scrap the project. And I was very clear about all of those things. In Q1, with only Harsh, no other developers, we do SEO in sprints. So our clients basically, we pick one thing to do in SEO, and we are able to generate MQLs within the quarter of us working. We don't even do long-term contracts for SEO. So for our most popular sprint, Harsh on his own increased the team productivity by a good 40% in the first quarter.
Oh, wow. Forty
which
percent in the first quarter.
40%.
And
And
then
I
this
was
is the productivity of your team.
for my SEO team,
Okay.
we don't have login systems and security systems, and we didn't build out, like, because if you have to do it for yourself, it's all locally hosted and stuff. You don't have to build like
Yeah.
payment portals and stuff, right? So if
Yeah,
you remove
exactly.
user management and all of that stuff, if you just build the core functionality, that's what he did. He didn't build SaaS. He built it like an internal tool for us, removing every other bell and whistle that, if you had to try and sell it, you would need. We were able to reduce our like time working on something by 40%. That was like more than enough for me to know, oh, I need to double down on this. 40 is
Wow.
a lot. Like like every team member could literally take on the time that
Twice
we
the amount of
saved.
work. Yeah.
Yeah, we could
Yeah.
either take on more work, or we could take that the time saved, put it into the same clients and charge them more. That was a direct revenue impact in Q1, which just blew my mind. So since then we've hired two more developers, and we now a third developer is joining this. So fourth developer essentially is going to join this week. So we're going all in, and
Wow.
we're automating a bunch of stuff across different job functions at Spear Growth. Yeah, I can go into
S-
depth of anything. Yeah.
Yeah. So what would be your favorite or most impactful automation that maybe is the first one that you mentioned, saving 40% within just first quarter, or anything else come to mind? Or anything that you can share?
We're an open book, so I can share most things. One of my favorite pieces is definitely how well LLMs can categorize things. Because what LLMs all they enable, so yeah, writing content stuff is a horrible use case for LLMs, at least for now.
Yeah.
But they're really good at categorizing things, summarizing things, and doing contextual search. Those are the three things LLMs are good at. So if you look at that, the categorization part, like, so yeah, like these core capabilities are great. For example, the context, the grouping aspect of it, right? Now I've been able to slice and dice data in ways that we just couldn't before, like just couldn't do it. And now that we have this entire system built out, our SEO insights are better, it's faster. We're able to sort of go to different websites, categorize them, and use it for, let's say, every aspect of, let's say, in SEO. Our We've made an executive dashboard. We sell it for like $250 a month. It's just an executive
How
report on
much?
SEO. It's the simplest, just $250 a month.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's an executive report, which
Oh, God.
basically shows like, hey, what is the least amount of information you want to look at to take a decision for SEO at any point of time. It's meant for at least, like, if you've been doing SEO for at least a year, then you can use it. But we couldn't have done it, like we couldn't have sold it for 250 earlier, because to do it manually, it used to take us like a week to just pull in all the data, summarize it. Like, it was a lot of work. With AI, we've been able to reduce the time so enough to be able to actually make it a viable product to sell. That's, like, I think, a huge use case, like just reporting and a lot of that stuff. But yeah, like the categorization aspect is probably my favorite yet. It might change as we build more things. Contextual search and stuff might, and summarization might take over. But right now, we are about 2 quarters in. At this point of time, categorization as a function is probably the best use case, my favorite use case for AI.
Good. So, any concrete example on what do you categorize? So I hear you mention
Yeah.
website, right? So you crawl the website and then you categorize them, and how does that help?
Let's take, since we're talking about SEO, right? Let's take the SEO example. Let's take the executive report, right? No one, like, if you're doing any other marketing channel, you respect that channel enough, or the person running the channel enough, do you say, hey, you are responsible for leads, and how many leads did I get, how many SQLs did I get? You discuss that. But with SEO, just because of how the industry is placed, everyone asks, like, hey, how many backlinks did I get? No one cares about backlinks. How many tag issues did you solve? No one cares about that. But even CMOs have, I just say they've given up. They've basically given up on SEO as a channel because they know it works. They know they have to focus on it. They don't know how and or to figure it out. So they ask questions on the execution side and they don't know whether it's ever going to, it really has a strong correlation to results or not. It's basically a black box. But I would like people to have real conversations, like conversations like, hey, how are we doing for this product? And what could we do? Like, no one, I've never seen someone say that, hey, for this product, treat like as a different channel. For this product, I need to increase our pipeline from SEO by X%. How would you help me do that? That's not a question I've hardly ever been asked that on a sales call, but for ads, I get asked that all the time. So for SEO, like how do you enable that? For example, we can take the entire website, let's say 6,000 pages, categorize them by products, and then we sort of do a little bit
Ah,
more
okay.
segmentation. And now we have it's very simple. It's the most obvious thing to do, but now by product, how many leads are you getting, how many SQLs are coming, how much traffic is coming, how many backlinks go into which product segment of yours. Analyzed other topics, we've analyzed so many other things where you can sort of figure out, oh, when I talk to, and you can also look at a page and say, okay, this page talks to this ICP of mine, and that other page talks to a different ICP. So you can literally look through business segments and have SEO discussions, right? Like
Ah,
that wasn't possible earlier.
that makes so much sense. So this is for your client website. You would be able to categorize thousands of
Yes.
pages and then have
Yeah.
a business unit level discussion in
Yes.
terms of
Which
SEO,
just
right?
didn't happen earlier.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
never happened. We can then talk about, hey, in this industry, if you sort of start extending that to your competitors, you can actually have these are questions that I wished people would ask, and now I've made the reports that people can ask those questions. For example, another question I like is that, hey, in this, amongst our competitors, who has a higher share of voice? People have been asking that, but then why? How do we increase ours? What about this product? Like that's the discussion you need to have. Like, okay, what about if I only look at bottom of the funnel keywords and clicks, what percentage do we own? That has a direct correlation with the revenue that each company is generating from. Because if you just look at who's ranking where or who has how much share of voice for bottom of the funnel keywords, you know how much revenue which of your competitors is making from SEO. If I talk about revenue, people always wanted to know that, but no one knew how to correlate, how to understand who's like, you literally can spy on your competitors exact like close to revenue figures and know how ahead or behind they are of you, because
Wow.
there's a direct correlation.
To on the topic of marketings and AI, like for many marketers, AI can feel a little intimidating or too technical, right? And then
Yeah.
let's not forget the fact that a lot of them think about AI from the point of fear. Like, will AI take my jobs? Will AI replace me? You actually host a show called Hack a Stack, where you break down marketing tech for people, right? How do you personally introduce AI to marketer in a way that isn't overwhelming and empowering instead of intimidating?
That's a very good question. So, a big part about integrating AI into an organization as deeply as we have is managing emotions. Especially as an agency, how do you even manage people fearing it or saying, hey, like, why should I help you build something that's going to take my job? Right? And what I've seen is at least in our team, right? There are three teams that are automating it the most. There's a fourth team that uses a lot of it, but not as much automation. The three teams are our SEO team, our copy team, and our paid media team. We started with automating a lot of their work. The paid media team doesn't care. They're like, hey, automate everything. I want to look at strategy. I want to talk to people. They like just, I don't want to do anything I'm doing today. Automate away. They
Oh,
love
wow.
it. Their feedback has been, oh, great, I get to use this new fun tool and that no one has, and they feel proud about it. And they just want the tools, right? And then there was a little bit of fear, but not that much, because then we had to basically switch their training to more advanced, more strategic things. And when they saw that, they were like, hey, you know what? Let it do all the grunt work. I'll do the more strategic things. The problem was with the copy or the design teams, because those teams and just like if you look at marketers, they are the more creative. If you
Hmm.
can summarize those two teams, like copy and design, they're the creatives. They are the creative team. Like my work is an art.
Mm,
Not everyone, but a lot of folks in the team, and I think it's just ethically or morally wrong to automate it or try to automate it. And I get where they're coming from because we've all seen ChatGPT content and it sucks. We've all
yeah.
seen it. We've all seen it try to do a lot of different things and it's just bad. But at the same time, we've changed how it will work, right? So we aren't generating any copy at the moment, but we will. And we've had this discussion with the team. When we do, it won't just it. So there's two ways you can do copy and then human in loop, right? So either you generate something and a human comes and reviews it. That's the lazy way to do it, and that's the common way to do it. The other way to
Mm-hmm.
do it is as the generation is happening, you put check stops and like in the middle where it asks you questions that, hey, which direction should I go to? What should I prioritize here? You get options and you get to direct how it's happening. So, for example, for copy, instead of saying that, hey, here's the copy I wrote for this ad, what a copywriter needs to be able to do is say that, hey, this ad is going to go to this audience, and I've assumed this thing about their audience. When they see it, this is probably what they're going to do in their day. And then this is what's happening in their world. This is what's happening outside with their competitors. They probably are thinking about this. So to address this audience, I need an ad that talks about this, and this, and showcases that pain point. Do we agree on that? I haven't shown you the ad. Are we aligned
Mm,
on all the assumptions? Yes, great. Here's the ad that aligns with all of it.
got it.
And
Okay.
the copywriter gets to direct the entire direction of the copy, the design, all of that stuff to get to the direction. And you sort of like, so that is a different skill set. You have to be really good at copy to be able to have that level of a conversation, which I think most copywriters are not, just cannot do it. So,
Fascinating.
summarizing,
Yeah.
if you're mediocre, yes, your jobs are at stake. So don't be mediocre. So what happens to folks who are just starting out? You'll probably get like there will be like for example ad sphere growth. So Kriti, who's our head of copy, she's sort of taken it upon herself to then, because okay, you have to care about the industry when you're doing things like this, right? You have to sort of think about things like that. So what we're doing is we're sort of creating an entire program slowly as we build it for ourselves. That hey, how do you get someone from hey I'm just starting copywriting to a point that is needed quickly? What is everything needed? And then you can think of this as almost like a lawyer type of job, it changing it to a lawyer type of job or a doctor type of job. That hey, when you are in the learning stage, you do a lot of grunt work. You have to learn heavily. There are long hours. It is hard. But the moment you actually become a copywriter, in this case, someone who can actually do the direction of all of that, you make bank, you make a lot
Mm,
of money,
yep.
and your skills are just next level. So
Yeah.
that's, I think,
Right.
going to change for a lot of the roles. Yeah.
Yeah. Because then now AI can help you achieve a lot more in such a short period of time, right? Combined with your skills, your
Yes.
only process skill sets. There are different type of marketers, like the more technical one, like PPC or SEO. They like to work to be automated way because they do a lot with data and they want to graduate to advanced thinking, strategic thinking. Right?
Yes.
Then there are more art oriented marketing, right,
Yes.
where they
Yes.
think that their job is more like an art and it's unethical to automate that, or they think that AI cannot do that. Was
Yeah.
your advice for them is graduate to a next level of strategic thinking where instead of doing the grunt work, you would steer the AI in generating the output that
Yes.
they desire, and then have AI as a co-pilot that will brainstorms or do the first draft, that kind of things, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think that's a good framework to go by. In recent podcasts, you made a bold prediction, basically say that large marketing team are no longer necessary. Like that really caught my attention. Can you unpack that a little bit? Do you think that there will be a period where small, scrappy marketing team can outcompete like large resource, fully staffed marketing teams?
By the way, I love the amount of research you've done. That's very, very impressive. I don't remember the exact context in which I said this. I think even with or without AI, these things remain true. I know enough examples of companies that even without AI have like a 5-10 person marketing team and are just crushing it, right? And they're like just like outperforming and have higher revenues than huge teams. It's absolutely huge. Like you have a 50% marketing team being completely crushed by a 5% marketing team. That's happening all
Mm.
the time. And I think even before AI and all of that stuff, I know because that was theme, but just like taking a step back, all marketing in B2B SaaS, and that's all I know. I don't know other industries, but I know B2B SaaS. I've always felt that all marketing in B2B SaaS should be better. Better is more profitable, more scalable, more predictable. Because if you look at any other department in a company, right, you look at the finance department, you never question that if I have a finance department, will my books be done? Okay, you might be inefficient, but they'll be done. You know,
Yeah.
even a sales department, right? Like, hey, like, something will close. Maybe your closure should be lower, but it will close. But
That's a strong
marketing
word
is
for a marketer. Oh my God. Open the Pandora box. Keep going. Sorry.
yeah, but in a marketing department, you hire an entire department, you might not get anything out of it, and that's a very real. Like, I spoke with someone today, they make at least 50 million revenue year on year in SaaS, and their marketing team is doing nothing. It's 100% sales led. The marketing team barely knows what to do. They're doing these random things, and it's obviously hurting the company, right? So I take that personal, and I like, hey, that shouldn't happen. So if you see, a lot of the work that we do is just it's built in these first principles. What's the most obvious, simple way to get to results? And while I have been able to figure out, or the team and I have been able to figure a lot of things for SEO and ads and a few other things here and there where we tried, a lot of other really good marketers have figured that out for social and for other things which I'm not an expert at, and for partnerships. Now, so when you take a marketer who truly understands these simple, obvious first principles playbooks, and you get them to a level where they know that, hey, this is this is what our goal with our own marketing was peer growth is, that hey, I don't want the more efficient way. I don't want to do everything. So Udayan at my team leads all growth, which is both sales and marketing. And where he's trying to get to is like, I don't care if this is the most efficient way to do it. I don't care if there's a better way. I know that this is my way and it works, right? Like, if I do these things, I have enough understanding that I will get to the results no matter what, because it's mine. I know the nuances and I can get there. I think that's what we need as marketers. You need people like, obviously, like slightly more senior marketers to have their methods, and they need to know how to get there. And then AI basically will not force them into a pure people management role, which means you like with a because when you take someone without a genius and you say, okay, now just manage fights between team members and like politics and all that, they lose their touch, right? So but then if there are fewer like smaller teams, or like, I don't want like fewer people in an organization, I'm saying a smaller team doing per activity, there's lesser loss of information. The quote unquote genius or thought leader who's owning the strategy is able to focus on the strategy and get results. So I think that, so those two things have to sort of combine. Like, people have to figure out how it really works without overcomplicating it. Like for SEO, right? Like, again, because we've discussed SEO a lot of times, current playbook is get a bunch of backlinks, publish 2 blogs a week, and I don't know what, right? So like, this is such a weird playbook. Like, who thinks like, because if you think about like any other marketing channel, like these activities have no correlation with revenue, right? You're telling me that, hey, if I write about 24 predictions in 2024, I'll suddenly, someone reading that is going to someday wake up and buy from me. If I just say it like that, now that strategy doesn't make sense. Right? But you
Mm.
want to rank for that, or prank ideas for I don't know, like firing template for HR teams. How will someone read that and then suddenly buy for your HRMS? Like, that makes no sense. And when I just say it like that, when I make it human, it makes obvious sense. So then we've just figured out things that make obvious sense, both for ads and for SEO. And that's our strategy. So if you can just find people like that, give them small teams, automate enough, and then just, run it. That's why I said maybe smaller teams. would do better or would be able to do more without a lot of the larger teams slowing them down. Yeah.
So marketer that think in first principle, that really hone their craft on one channels, right? You think those would
Yeah.
be the one that be able to thrive in this new world. On that topic of SEO, did you just throw away on the like the dogma in SEO? Because like that's totally where it was coming from when I talked to you yesterday. Two blog posts, I mean, one blog post a week, or get a bunch of backlink, and then Google overlord give us some traffics, and then, but
Yep.
you don't seem to believe that at all.
Yeah, like so if you just look through again first principles, okay, you want revenue. To get revenue, you want SQLs. To get SQLs, you need leads. Now, who's going to become a lead? And again, okay, let me not say lead. You need demo calls, right? You need demo calls. So now, to get a demo call, who in the world would schedule a demo with you, right? It's someone who's looking for something in your category, and you just show up and say that, hey, like you're looking for that, I am that. That's it. Now you can use your USP, you can use your creativity to have a higher chance of them to schedule a call with you. But then from an SEO perspective, you just show up for when people say I want this, show up with the answer. That's it.
All right.
That's what an SEO's job is. So, which means it's all about the keywords. It was never about the blogs. It was never about the backlinks. Like, hey, start with the keywords. So and that's just the most obvious things, right? Whether you know SEO, don't know SEO, that's obvious. If I rank for the right keywords, I'll get money, right? Like that's simple. So, okay. So then the entire question is, what's the best way to rank for keywords? And if you just answer that, if you follow the trail again, since we took the example we're taking here is like producing content, okay, find the keyword first. And then the second question should always be, we have the keyword. Now you ask, can I rank for this? And how can I rank for this? So now that may not require a blog. That may or may not require backlinks. That may or may not require a new page. So whatever it requires, then you do that. But you start with the keyword. It just is the simplest way to think about it. But just because it's unconventional, it gives oh, everyone just feels like, oh, I didn't understand SEO, now I do, and now, oh, Ishan's great because but it is generally the most simple thing to ever think through. Like, hey, I want keywords. What do I need to rank? Great. I need a team to tell me what is needed to rank for a keyword and help me find those keywords I can actually rank for. Great. That's what we do. And when we've done that, we've been able to see cut through all the bullshit. Like, hey, SEO takes time and all. No, like you have to keep doing SEO to see results. This is something I've recently heard a couple of times. That just really pisses me off. That makes no sense. But yeah, it takes time. If you go to our website, you'll see a lot of examples of people starting SEO and then getting results quickly. Like you do, I think one company very similar to you, since we're speaking right now, would be Cashflow. Cashflow, I remember they started. They sell to sales teams, just like you. They started their SEO project with us. By week 4, they closed $50,000 in revenue.
Oh wow, from SEO, from Google
Yes.
traffic.
From net new traffic from SEO, not existing traffic, nothing. I'm talking about revenue closed.
Oh wow,
Right.
that's
And so,
insane.
and others are like, oh, SEO takes at least a year. You have to produce blogs and then something. Like, what happens after you produce the blogs? Right? Like, what do you think will happen? Like, just like talk to me about what is a person doing reading a random blog? And what
Hmm.
happens then in their life, in their day? Like, how do they even get to buying from you? They don't. You're playing probabilities, right? Just
Got it.
like
Okay.
don't. Yeah.
All right. So you're suggesting like focusing on bottom of the funnel keyword. That makes sense. Yeah. I heard someone advise like the bottom of the funnel keyword, of course, like it's an obvious place to start, but then usually if you're in a competitive space, that the price will be pretty high. Like it will be pretty hard to rank for
Yeah.
those keyword, or if you do PPC, it will also be pretty difficult, pretty expensive. So
Yeah.
then that's why people kind of go middle of the funnel or top of the funnel content, right?
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
I'll try to summarize this, but this is probably the toughest training my team goes through with me. They all hate me for it.
That's
I
not for
haven't been
me.
able to. No, so this, this, this is a 1.5 hour long training we do with the team, and no one ever gets it. I need to figure out to make it simpler. I'll try and summarize it, or at least I'll give an example, right? So, whenever someone new joins the team, they always tell me that, hey, I ran out of keywords. The answer is get better at finding keywords. Right? So I'm not saying bottom funnel doesn't run out. Sure, but then I'll give you an example. So let's say you're selling SEO services, right? So now the first step to finding new keywords is to figure out, okay, if someone is selling SEO services, let's not say someone, let's define a person. And this is an activity that I've never talked about. This will be fun. Okay, so define a very specific person, define their lives, and you can get something like, hey, we sell to B2B SaaS companies that have raised some money. Usually, are spending, at least have like, so when we're selling SEO like B2B SaaS companies, even if it's like late seed stage or series ABC, we can work with them. Great. Now, what's something specific about them? Okay, let's pick a problem in their life. So bottom the funnel, they prioritize your industry. When it's not bottom funnel, they basically are not thinking about SEO right now. They're not thinking about SEO, but they are in our ICP and they need it. You cannot generate a need. They need SEO. So how can I find a signal of needing SEO? Maybe they're running ads and their ads are too expensive. So I can say, hey, use SEO, reduce ads cost. Great. For someone whose ads are too expensive, what might they be doing? Let's take a simpler example, right? You get a lot of spam traffic, for example, right? So they're using one of those spammy click reduction softwares.
Mm-hmm.
So you just rank for that, and then you say that, hey, spam clicks are usually not even a concern. If you're doing targeting right, just make up an offer, right? That, hey, you can do that, and then you can do an SEO pitch that, hey, in the long term the cost will still go up, and then you need SEO for that. If you want to talk to someone about SEO, and we can then make a damn good offer, we still, if you're running ads and it's working at all, we'll do SEO and we'll reduce the CAC by this much within this time. Speak with us to see
Okay.
if you qualify. So now you're ranking for a keyword of reducing spammy clicks, and you're selling SEO, but because it is your ICP and they have a need. If they
Oh,
have a
okay. All
need
right.
and they have ICP, so now, okay, how can you run out of, like, this is bottom of the funnel? Let me be clear. This is not bottom of the funnel. Being very clear, this is middle of the funnel. But then you can sell in middle of the funnel. Sure, conversion rates will be lower. Sure, not everyone will get convinced that, oh, I need SEO looking at ads. Okay, but it's going to be higher than just, oh, let's just whatever people call middle of the funnel, right? This is like what Speargle calls middle of the funnel is this. You can still sell. So if you're working with us, we're selling everywhere. Every single page, we're selling something. So we get to revenues. If you sell, you make money. So okay, let's keep selling, right? That the most obvious things are usually the best insights.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is that get better at finding keyword. You give an example of really dig deep into the pain and try to imagine like what they are doing in their life. Try to
Yes.
come up with the keyword that they might possibly search for,
Yeah.
and then try to rank for them those keywords, even though that may not be directly related to the service that you provided. But because the pain is so clear, and then you can connect the two, right? Your offer and how it can solve indirectly solving their pain.
Yeah.
That makes perfect sense. I sucks at finding like really deep in finding that pain. But yeah, hearing you is like, oh, it's eye opening. One question on the other SEO topic in AI is, right? What does Google call it? AI suggested answer or
Yeah.
AI overview? AIO is a new
Yeah.
term, right? So if AIO take over all the keyword, it doesn't, your full side ad on the right side of the page doesn't get a chance to run anyway. So what do you recommend SEO marketers? How do they deal with that? How should they think about it?
Yeah, the AI overviews, I just think don't try to predict it. Wait. Just do good SEO. I'm pretty sure you're sort of missing stuff there. Just show up more often and then think about the overviews for now. But then there are stuff that you can do there, right? For example, you know that ranking on ChatGPT is a different game. Ranking on Perplexity is a different game. Like just do that for now. Do good SEO, do that. Don't think about AIO. I think it's going to take care of itself, honestly. Like I
Got
think
it.
you wait for a year and then there will be enough clarity because right now there's too much in test. I have a couple of friends at Google and I keep asking them as well that, hey, what's this and that, and they aren't sure about what they're really doing. So I'm just like, hey, no one knows what's happening. Just wait a year. Don't look at that. But right now, if you want to do something, I think something that's very, very it's a great opportunity to do something in the AI search space is try to rank for ChatGPT.
All right, let's talk
Without
about it.
going into,
Uh,
sorry, yeah.
yeah, let's talk about that because I actually good segue. How do you how should marketers even think about it? How do they start on ranking for ChatGPT
Oh, we've
or Perplexity?
okay. This is probably going to be the first time I talk about publicly, but we are making a tool to help you figure out all the analytics for it. We haven't named it or anything. I own, by the way, AI search optimization is a domain that I own. So we have been
Really?
working, yeah,
Oh my
we've been
God.
working this
Okay.
for a while, working on this for a
Uh,
while. We'll
okay,
probably
go
just
on.
call it AI search optimization.com. We'll just like, that might just be the company name eventually. We're just waiting to see what term stabilize. I own a couple of SEO for LLMs is something I own. So I'm just like waiting for, okay, what do people call it? And then I'll
That's
name the
smart.
company. Yeah.
That's smart.
But
Okay, so you clearly ahead of the crowd here. So tell me more like what practical stuff that I can do to help my company rank on ChatGPT if someone
yeah,
asks
it's
about revenue acceleration or something like that.
the things that you don't have. Let's start there. Right. So the things you don't have is you will probably never get analytics. Like ChatGPT and tools will never tell you what keywords people are searching for. They might tell you topics, but they will never tell you keywords. Because people have been like, we did this survey and we're still doing a lot of research right now. Uh, it's not ready yet, but if anyone listening, if you want to know exactly what to do, we're making an entire report. I can pitch, right? Right? Like,
Yeah, yeah, of course, of course.
perfect, great. So if anyone's
Yeah.
listening and you want this is still in the works, will probably be done by the end of Feb 2025 with this. We want to report on exactly how to think about it, what keywords to go after, what topics to publish, exactly everything for your company. We'll tell you that all of that for like $500, right? Like in one place, that's all. Like, and like and I'll tell you like how we're doing it. It's all very simple. So again, stuff that isn't public yet but will be fun. So for example, we did this survey and we looked at, okay, what kind of searches are people doing on Google versus ChatGPT. And it's a qualitative survey, right? So we spoke with a lot of folks who are decision makers and we're trying to figure out, okay, what are they doing? And it hasn't finished yet. We're still in the middle of this, but most probably, like the early insights suggest that the patterns we've seen is like if people have been doing it for a while, have been using ChatGPT for a while, and they're tech savvy, which is either most decision makers today or it will be in a year because they will probably be using ChatGPT for a while if they're using ChatGPT to take decisions. If they're not, they use the Google search. The way you search on Google is they mimic that on ChatGPT. But as you start using it for longer and longer, we've seen people start getting very, very specific about what they search. For example, the searches that I've seen is, hey, I'm a CFO at a fintech company based in Europe. Our ERP is X, whatever, what HRM or whatever like financial reporting software should I use? This is the search. Now, the thing is, you can never predict someone will search this. Like, there is no way you're
Mm.
optimizing for this question, right? Like, you cannot.
Mm-hmm.
So, what do you even optimize for? So, what we figured out is we've made a way to understand what are the parameters people would add, and then we sort of figured out a way to search through the internet and we just say, okay, you don't have, let's say you need integrations, you need compliance, you need all of that stuff, right? So you need pricing. Someone might tell you the budget. Okay, great. Now which of this information is available on the internet? So we scour the internet for that. Then we sort of just tell you that, hey, this information is not missing. How this helps is, for example, you look at the question I asked. I am a VP of finance at a company that's this big. Okay. Is it written anywhere that you are good for enterprises? I have a budget of X. Okay. Is your pricing mentioned anywhere? Oh, I am based in Europe. Have you spoken about GDPR compliance anywhere? I have this ERP. Have you talked about it integrations anywhere? If you have spoken about all of those things, you could be recommended. If it has missing information about half of these things, even if you're a good fit, you won't be recommended. It's as simple as that. How do you recommend something with missing information? You don't. So you just find every single aspect people are looking for in your industry for your type of things, and then you just make sure information is available on the internet about you. It could be a page on your website, it could be somewhere else. Just make sure it's available. That's one. The other modules are basically misinformation is a module that, hey, you're actually this. Like, I spoke to a few folks at Deloitte, and they didn't really care about this. They're like, hey, we'll show up everywhere. They're right, they do show up everywhere. They're Deloitte. But then they really got pissed when in one of the searches it says that Accenture is more premium than them, or I think I forgot the company, but it said, and they took that personally. If you're listening to this, hey, sorry I said that, but so that's when they really cared. They're like, I cannot let that happen. So we're building a module for misinformation, right, or
So
whatever
to help
against
them
them.
detect this type of misinformations and
Yeah, it's
or like
tough. I built.
unfair evaluation of their
Yeah, so
product,
that's
right?
going to be the second model we're building. And then, so what information is missing is model one. Second is what information is missing, or so what's
No,
wrong.
misinformation. Yeah.
Yeah, that what's wrong. And there was a third one. I genuinely just forgot what the third module is, right? But I'm in the middle of doing interviews with different people trying to build this out. There are three modules we're building right now, and it's all very simple stuff. It's extremely simple. Oh yeah, the third module is what are the sources ChatGPT is using to show up for very bottom of the funnel keywords, like the obvious ones, right? Hey, top 10 agencies, right? So what are the sources it used? Is it different from Google? And then how do you show up in the sources? That's the third module we're making. So now if you just do these three activities, add the right information on the internet, check for misinformation and correct the information on the internet, and then show up in everywhere that it uses as a data source. That's all you need to do. And it's not competitive at all right now. It is not competitive at all, like in the slightest, but in a year it will be. And
Hmm.
my understanding of how competitive or how much of a difference it's going to make to someone is was much my estimates were much lower. And then Rand Fishkin, who was the founder of Moz, he came up with some estimates which are much higher than mine. I have to relook at the numbers because of him. I thought it's not going to be major till I think 5 years. But according to him, like ChatGPT and LLMs are going to take a majority share of a lot of the searches. Like it's going to be a significant channel much faster. So
Oh,
I'll have to relook at the numbers that I thought it was going to be much smaller than I saw Rand, and I'm like, okay, I trust that guy. I will look at
that
how he did his estimates. Yeah.
that's fascinating. How can you tell what source ChatGPT use if you don't know
Yeah, that's
their
the
inner
one thing
working?
I won't tell you. Like that's been that was the toughest thing to figure out. It's that's why it took so long to build it. That one piece, it's it was such a pain in the ass to figure out. It was so hard because there's no analytics, no tools. It's yeah, like that's the one that's like, okay, I'm going to keep that one secret because it took us, I think, a good 2 months of testing and just seeing, and then we still like we've identified a few keywords we aren't ranking for, or questions we aren't ranking for, and then we're testing by actually showing up there and then seeing if we rank for it before we can make a claim that our software works. But yeah, we've already started ranking for a few of those things, like showing up in a few of those answers is more accurate.
Oh wow. What is the best B2B SaaS growth
Best B2B
agency?
SaaS PPC agency is something that we tried. We're like going
Oh,
after
okay.
right now. Yeah, like that's one that
Oh,
we're best B2B SaaS PPC agency is the one we're trying going after right now. So if you listen to this later on, I hope in a month or two we are on that
all
list.
right. I'll try it after the call. and see if you rank for it. Well, this is fascinating. Thank you so much for
Yeah.
taking the time to answer all these questions. So how can other marketer, how can they learn about you? Where can they find you on the internet?
Yeah, so you can find me on, you can connect to me on with me on LinkedIn. I'm Ishan Ishaan Shakunt Shakunt on LinkedIn. Other than that, if you're looking for an agency that just is like cuts with the bullshit, does the work, owns numbers, takes care of like just the basics and also making sure you get results. We do two things: we do ads and we do SEO. So if you can just schedule a call with me, my team on speargrowth.com, which is speargrowth.com. And yeah, as I said, if you're interested in the SEO for LLMs things or the AIS or whatever we end up calling it, that report, yeah, hit me up.
Do you think you can give some like free lead magnet for the listener on this particular thing? Because I think this is top of mind for a lot of folks. Would love to share
Yeah,
that at
we
the end
have
of
an
it.
entire book. We've written like the SEO things that we discussed today, which is like different from others do. We wrote everything. It's ungated. It's on our website.
Oh,
There's
okay.
a in the navigation bar. There's a section called books. We're writing everything we do for ads and SEO for free, ungated on our website. You can literally go there, click on a link, check it out, and literally just it's there. So everything I told you about how we like even advanced stuff for ads, like how do you build a list better than everyone else, what should the funnels be, all of that is going to be there for free. I think the next lead magnet we're posting on LinkedIn, and again we're going heavy on these, is people aren't able to crack LinkedIn ads. We have, and we've sort of figured out how to think about it, when to do which funnel. We've made an entire decision tree where you answer questions, you get to a funnel, you click on the funnel, then you go to this place where everything is documented. There's diagrams, how to
Amazing.
look at
Yeah,
it. So everything like we don't hold back because
that's
like
awesome.
if information is your USP, you're doing something wrong. So we're going to give
Yeah.
everything away, apart from how do we find
Unless
out
if
the
it,
signal.
unless if I ask what source ChatGPT you used, that's the
Except
one thing.
that.
Except that.
Maybe in a year,
Uh,
maybe in 6 months, I'll tell people how we did that. But
all right. Awesome. Amazing.
yes,
Thanks a lot, Ishan. It's very nice
yes,
talking to you today.
yes.
Very nice.
Likewise, I really enjoyed this. I really appreciate how deeply you had done your research before you asked any question. That never happens. Yeah.
Oh yeah. All right. Thank
Yeah.
you so much.